Today is August 11th, and here's our Buoy 10 update from today. So after yesterday morning being as slow as it was, I decided to jump out in the ocean this morning, and that was definitely a good call. We went out there and did fairly well, but it seemed like you really had to search for the fish. We started at Buoy 4, trolled out towards the CR, and scratched one here, one there, and then finally we landed on a good pod, and it was great action. After that, probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, it kind of died off. We didn't really see too many fish getting caught out there. So I bailed out of there, jumped over towards the North Jetty, fished from the North Jetty to the Candlestick, which is the lighthouse out there on the rock pile. And we got one here, one there, got a nice Chinook, lost a coho, had a couple other bites. And then we decided to come into the river, and the reason why is because in the river we heard all throughout the day of little tiny micro snaps that were happening. Above the bridge, below the bridge, Hammond was going, now the church hole, now checkerboard, now Iwako, now up at the ice house again, now up above the bridge on the Oregon side up at the ships. So it was just like little microbursts all over the place. But that tends to happen on these parts of the tides. We're just coming off those big tides, and we should start to see the bite get better. There were a fair amount of Chinook caught inside the mouth today, not very many coho, but it had some semblance of a decent little bite happening for Chinook. Most boats I talked to had 3 or 4 Chinook, but it's not quite white hot on fire. Not even close, I wouldn't say. But there is some semblance of a bite wanting to start materializing. So we'll see what happens over the next day or two. So what worked today? Well, when we came back into the river, so after we fished the North Jetty, we jumped inside and came in to fish a little bit and stopped there at Buoy 20 and 22, saw net here, net there, nothing really much. Jumped over to Hammond and the sawdust pile, net here, net there, not really much. These afternoon tides are really honestly quite good right now. And I wish I was able to fish the checkerboard when it was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, not 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we've already been out since 6 o'clock. But there at checkerboard, we marked a fair number of fish, and while we were catching them there at checkerboard, every pass we're getting 2 or 3 bites on that late afternoon flood. The guys over at Hammond started catching a few fish too. So again, fish are scattered, there's more fish pushing in, and they're starting to bite a little bit. That's great. So what worked today? Well, honestly, it was kind of everything. The chartreuse flasher, I only ran one today. It got bit pretty well. The red flasher, Red October, or again, if you can't find Red October, look for the BMK. That one's really similar to it, really close. And that one did pretty well on my bow rods. And the back rods, for a couple days there, my pawn shop flashers just shut off. And so I went away from them. But today I went back to them, and I had the 2 back rods, the deeper rods with the pawn shop, and they got bit really well today. And usually out in the ocean, the bow rods outfish any other rod on the boat. But today, the back rods just flat out hunted, and I had pawn shop on both of those. So whether it's flash or not, I don't know, but here's what I also did. So bait is expensive down here, and when you're running 6 rods, you're dropping $50 a day in bait. And I wanted to kind of play around with a few things, so myself and a few other captains decided to try some different techniques. And we've been talking about it for a while, but we decided to actually try and use it on 1 or 2 rods. Bite's good enough. And so I decided to bring out some of my fish nip. In fact, let me grab some of it, and I'll see if I got it all set out over here. So what I did, instead of burning through so much bait, man, you burn through a lot of bait. Like I said in one of my earlier updates, I burned through 6 pounds worth of bait. You know, that's $50 in bait. It's expensive each day on top of your fuel and everything else. So what we did is grabbed some fish nip here. And what I did is I put in the fish nip some of the Procure Addicted Salmon Blend and some anchovy oil. So I put in the Addicted gel, but you could use the oil too. That'd work just fine, but the gel is what I had. So Addicted Salmon Blend, oil or gel, and then anchovy oil. And I just put it into the fish nip here. There it is right there. And I just mixed it all up. It gives it good consistency. And then put it into little mini super baits, the little mini cup plugs. And whether you use the little 3 inchers or the kokanee ones, I don't think it would have mattered. I know a couple guys are running the the original style ones out there, and that was working just fine. But what's nice is that the amount of fish nip that I have in here, this is from fishing all day long, and this is about a quarter of one of those packages. Imagine if I was fishing those on every single rod. And our pack rods got crushed today. They probably caught nearly half of our fish. I mean, it was pretty cool to watch. And what's great about it too is when you get bit, you just leave it down there. But again, I still have that much bait left after catching that many fish, and that is a quarter of an entire package of the fish nip bait. I got some stuff to think about. So it's not the end all be all. It's really hard to beat fresh bait, but after what I saw today, I would feel totally comfortable fishing about half my rods, just putting fish nip into some of those super baits. So that is one option for you guys if you're having a hard time finding bait, you just want to try something different. If you're starting to get low on bait, have that on board, and that did really well. And again, it was the pawn shop flasher right there in silver and gold. That bad boy there did work out in the ocean and in the river. We ended up keeping 11 fish today, 3 Chinook and 8 coho. We kept on trying to get number 12, but losing a ton of fish, lost a few at the boat, released a lot of fish, missed a ton of bites. So all in all, it was a great day. It was a long day. And because it was a long day, my boat is still a mess. Still got to put all the rods away, everything else. I got some work to do, and it's already after 5 o'clock. So on that note, I got to get to work. Later, guys. Time to clean the boat. I'm out.